Today, you are a potted plant. Oh, not, of course, physically, but metaphorically. Landscape terms are employed in the Word of God to speak a very specific truth. That truth, well, let's start where we start. A seed. Inside, well, you are today inside. You are sitting in soil, if you will. You're in an earthly environment, and where you're at, either or. Yes, right now, you are either in a perfect place. You are real rooted. And right now, fruit. Why? You're also well weeded, man. You know who's caring for you. It's that great husbandman. It's that one who cares, who cultivates, who can passionately make sure you are well watered, soil is moist, or either, quite possibly, it's sad. If you were to look at your life, well, you're crooked, you're broken, you're diseased, man. We got to do something about this. Because if we don't do anything about this, that disease is going to lead to decay, and you will see die. Yeah. And it's not just that kind of death where, oh, how sad, my plant died. No, we're talking about people. Your pot is polluted. Your soil stinks. Don't you think you ought to do something? Yeah, because if you don't, well, it's Psalm 1. And we see, starting in the first verse, a reference to this fact, landscape terms. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the path of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. His delight is in the law of the Lord. And in his law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that brings forth its fruit in season, whose leaf shall not wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. The ungodly are not so. They're like chaff, which the wind drives away. Therefore, the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall. Circle the word for perish. 3 words you can write right there in your margin. Listen, you want to jot down the word lose, destroy, fail. And what's really interesting, that word in the original language, without escape, no way out. How many of you are fruit-filled? How many of you are really, really productive, really, really effective, really, as the scriptures say, prosperous in your relationship with God? You see, you may not be the sick soil, the polluted pot, but you're also not the, wow, so well watered, so well weeded. No, you're somewhere. Well, if I was to carefully look at your bush, I would see there's something on this leaf. Something's eaten away. Oh, there's some dry here. That seems like it's about to blow away. You know what you may need? You might need some good advice. You might need some good counsel. You might need some holy direction from who? Well, none other than the one who hopes to see you bear more fruit. Yeah, it's Jesus. Saying goodbye to Psalm 1, it's John chapter 15, and in the first verse it reads this way, John 15:1, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it might bear more fruit. And then verse 3, you're already clean because of the word which I've spoken to you. Pause right there, your attention, please. I got 3 main points today, and if you're a note taker, you can jot them down. You want to leave, never mind. It's not going to be, listen, a transplant. It's going to be a transformation. And the way the transformation begins, listen, 1, expect change. Expect change. Jot that down. Expect change. Now, what do I mean expect change? Well, all life lives seasonally. I don't know if you know that. Anything that's alive is in a process of seasonal change. You have winter, you have spring, you have fall, you have summer. You get the idea. Everything has its seasons. And with every season, there is a reason, according to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Now, your season, I don't know where you're at right now. But wherever you're at in the spectrum, you know the past is the past and the future is the future. And where you are right now, that season, it has a reason. You can't resist change. You can't ignore change. You have to actually expect change. You have to accept change. In fact, if you're really wise as a believer, you would actually welcome change. You'd actually invite it. Hey, come on, I'm ready for a change. Why? Well, because I finished doing what I did, and now I'm looking forward to the future. Future? Every season, it has a reason, and each one has its value. Please, there was value in your past, but why are you still there? Well, because I know exactly why. Keep your place in John's Gospel. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Look at the way it reads. Ecclesiastes 7:1, a good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. Move a little further. This time it's verse 8. The end of a thing is better than its beginning. The patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Do not hasten your spirit to be angry, for angry rest in the bosom of a fool. And don't say, why were the former days better than these? For you do not inquire wisely concerning this. Your attention, please. The day of one's death better than the day of their birth? How can that be? Listen, if you've lived life unto the Lord, your day of death is your graduation. You get to hear him say, well done, good and faithful servant. You actually did what you were called and created to do. That's why the day of death is better than the day of one's birth. You're done. Okay. Hey, way to go, Bobby. You did it. Now it's time for a new season and a new phase in your existence, because you are created of God. He had a plan for earth, and now you're going to discover his plan for heaven. But if in fact you waste your life, if you don't do what he calls you to do, well, what is that? Let me tell you what that's like. And I'm so frugal, I'm such a steward. It's maddening to me to look at a product and discover, although the bag or the box has not been opened, it's past its expiration date. Some of you are like that half bag of bread. Bob, what are you saying? You used part of your life to the glory of God, but it's like you took the plastic and you wrapped it up and you tied it and put one of those twisties on and said, I'm staying here and I'm just going to get old and mold. What are you doing? Don't you want to be used of God? Oh, I'm afraid. Exactly. That's the truth here. You're afraid. You say the old was better. He says, you're not wise in saying that. How do you know God doesn't have something better ahead? What's the problem? Well, the problem is addressed. No need to turn there. It's Luke's gospel. And in the 5th chapter, in the 36th verse, here's Jesus. Listen carefully. Christ is speaking. No one puts a piece from a new garment on an old one. Otherwise, the new makes a tear, and also the piece that was taken out of the new does not match the old. No one puts new wine into an old wineskin, or else the new wine will burst, and the wineskins will be spilled, and the wineskins will be ruined. But new wine must be put into wineskins, and both are preserved. And no one having drunk old wine immediately desires new, for he says, and I quote, the old is better. The old is better. Is today's Bible study bothering you because there's a screen behind me and you don't like it? What happened? Why is the screen there? I don't like it. Oh, you don't? You're covering the cross. What happened to the cross? Hey, we can easily put a cross there. That's not a big deal. Listen, if, however, you are an old wine bag and he's trying to put some new, fresh wine in you, and you resist and you don't want to change, what happens? He said, you're going to pop. Pop? You're going to explode. I don't like new. I can't take it anymore. I'm tired of all these newfangled things and all these gadgets and all these things that just bother me. I don't understand. Hey. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if you grabbed a young person and said, explain this to me? And they did. And then you told the young person, well, in my day we did this. Really? And there's an exchange of old and new. Nobody has to burst and nobody has to explode. No, you'd be growing into a new season of life. And with that new season of life, we'd see new growth. How do we do it? Well, the word is very, very prominent. Back with me, John 15, you see it in 2. In verse 2, he says, every branch that bears fruit, he prunes. He prunes. Yes, expect change. You have to allow God to come into your life and help you cut out the stuff that doesn't belong. It's the pruning process. So when I see this tree and I say, you know what? Let me tell you something. To really make this a better tree, I will. And to make this I will. And what happens? Well, I start cutting things out of your life that don't belong. But if you think those things that I think should be cut out actually belong, you will resist the change that's necessary. Can I remind you, the hands of the husbandman, this one who wants to do the pruning, it's the Lord. It's the Lord. And he may have to, when you first come to Christ, do some pretty serious chopping. But if you let him, at some point in time, you'll just come into the church on weekends for a little grooming. He'll see some things and go, no disease here. No real problem here. Oh, there's a stick that probably needs a little bit more taken off. And every week you come in the house of God, ready. And it's like a little divine haircut. He's just making sure that everything's in place. Every once in a while, he might say, well, wait a minute. This is odd. Where did you get this? That's all about God saying, if you let me take out the bad, I'll replace it with good. If you let me cut out all the hatred, I'll replace it with some love. You let me take out the fear and I'll give you peace. You let me take out the anxiety, I'll give you calm. But you got to let me have my way. I got to be free to do this. Prune? That word for prune is an interesting word. You want to come back to it and circle it. You'll nearby write these 3 words. Clean, purge, and it's more of a biblical term. It's expiate. Expiate. It has to do with atonement. The implications attached to the word have to do with cutting with a goal. Anytime he cuts, there's a goal. He's never cutting just to take away. See, he's subtracting to add. He's not just subtracting to take away. He's subtracting